Okay, welcome everyone to the November 19th, 2025 Heber Light and Power Board meeting. I'm Heidi Franco, and I want to welcome the other board members in attendance: Brenda Christensen, Sue Ostergaard, Aaron Cheatwood online with myself, and Kevin Payne. Everyone, I thought I'd be able to see the room and chair this meeting, but I'm happy to turn it over to Brenda or Kevin, since you can see the room and you might be able to chair more easily than me. Would either of you like to assume that responsibility at this point?
I can do it.
Okay, Brenda, just so you know, Kendall is on his way. He said that he would try to be there as close to 5 as possible because I'm leaving for a meeting in Salt Lake for the National League of Cities and Towns at that time.
Okay.
So Brenda, if you don't mind, would you like to proceed then with the consent agenda?
I certainly will.
Thank you.
Okay, the consent agenda is for October 22, 2025 board meeting minutes, October 2025 financial statements, October 2025 warrants. Is there any questions? If not, I'll move for a vote.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda with the 3 items stated.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first by Sid, a second by Kevin. Kevin?
Aye.
Sid?
Yes.
I'm a aye. Heidi?
Yes.
And Aaron?
Yes.
Okay, that's 5 to 0 votes, so the motion carries. Okay, the next one on the list is the discussion of possible approval of a change of organization agreement regarding the dividend calculation resolution 2025 through 09. Adam.
Yeah, and let me apologize, the legal update memo I sent out was apparently last month somehow. I will circulate this.
Okay.
I will circulate the current one in just a minute.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll blame Adobe Acrobat. And
Okay.
that's my story, and I'll stick to it. This is a resolution making really just one small tweak to our organization agreement. And that is the calculation of what it calls distributable income. Currently, we use just plain old net income. In net income is a big non-cash depreciation expense, meaning that it's an expense recognized on our financial statements, but it is not actual money going out the door. The real result of that, particularly in an era where we are investing heavily in new capital assets, which all come with depreciation expense, is that our net income is low or negative. We still have positive cash flow, but actual book net income is negative, meaning there's no income to distribute to the members. The proposed change, which we've talked about a few times, would use net income before depreciation or amortization. So those are non-cash expenses. In a corporate finance world, it'd be EBITDA, earnings before taxes, interest, amortization, depreciation, something like that. Bart can correct me. So that's the concept. It would just change that definition so that non-cash depreciation expense does not go into our calculation of distributable income, which would very likely mean the board has the option of making quarterly income distributions.
Adam, I just don't see what the difference is in this new language compared to the old language. Where's that big difference?
And that is, there's a nice little red line screenshot in the memo I did not circulate.
Oh,
Are you logged in, Jason? Let me send this to you.
because if we're keeping it,
Admittedly, I won't be able to look at the memo while I'm coming into the meeting, and didn't we say we can't take action until Councilman Crittenden is there anyway?
no,
Kendall has to be a unanimous party only vote, so Kendall doesn't get to vote. But it
Yeah.
requires affirmative votes from the 5 of the rest of you to make any changes to the organization agreement. The change in this is really that very first sentence: distributable income means the amount, if any, of the company's net income before depreciation or amortization. So on that resolution, the end of the very first quoted line.
That first quoted line's long.
So,
Or contingency reserves, is that the part? No.
the very top, distributable income means the amount, if any, of the company's net income, and this is the new part, before depreciation or amortization.
Which was
Okay.
included in it before, right?
That language is new. And
Okay.
So,
But isn't that what we're doing right now?
No.
but help me understand amortization.
I don't know that do we have anything that would fall in the amortization bucket, Bart?
Okay, I just wanna make
That's-
sure
that's just-
that your amortized bond, or, bond payments are not included,
Okay.
are not intended to be
Yeah, here,
included in that
actually,
language.
let me send this to you. Yeah, so this is just,
Cause you gotta make those payments, I mean,
Yeah.
those are priority over.
this is just for the purposes of calculating our distributable income, and the rest of the paragraph deals with bond covenants and so on.
So it really won't make a lot of difference, it'll just make it so that if by chance there is money there, that it can be distributed among the owners. Am I right?
Yeah, and so I just, when that comes in, Jason, you open that attachment.
So help me understand, what amortization would that include that doesn't include bond payments?
What,
Like, if we had any goodwill or any long-term leases that we were having to amortize,
so other non-cash
Yeah.
expenses,
so.
Yeah.
depreciation is our huge one.
Yeah.
And I guess at the end of the day, if it just said depreciation, it would have the same intended effect here.
Okay, but I thought this was what we were doing, Bart. When you gave us the calculation worksheet, you could only use the net income before the depreciation or the amortization. So I'm not sure I'm still seeing the differences.
No,
Bart, could
it-
you address that?
It was coming after
So
that.
scroll down to that box at the
Coming
bottom.
after.
Net income after depreciation or
Yeah.
amortization,
Yeah.
but yet we were going off of the negative operating income.
Well, that's what was driving us into the negative, cause operating income, because you have that depreciation line in there,
Uh-huh.
it's a true reflection as to where you're at financially on the term, the period, quarter, whatever. But because it's a non-cash activity, and we are easily reinvesting much more than our depreciation level every year on capital, the bonding agencies allow us to back that out. I mean, there's just a lot of reason that we shouldn't be holding back a dividend from the cities because we're using this non-cash expense that is reflecting in the income statement as a negative that's pushing us below into a negative operating income position. Yet on the balance sheet, we are clearly covering that additional accumulated depreciation. So you're running into both statements having a mismatch, and the way that the agreement was written, it would be 100% operating income, which technically operating income includes that depreciation line, so.
Okay, so I'm wondering about the net income before depreciation. I felt like we were using that already in the operating income, not net income, but operating income.
No, the way we've always reflected it is we actually show the net income after depreciation, and then the next line is before depreciation.
We add back.
We add it back,
So, and that's what you get to operating income.
yeah.
So what will be the change then when you give us the calculation next time in January?
What will change is I will add that depreciation back into the net income number and give you the operating income.
I think that'll be worse.
It actually,
No,
think of it this way, Heidi. When
Okay.
let's say we have a negative $2.2 million net income,
Mm-hmm.
but then I add back $5 million worth of depreciation, we now have a positive $2.8 million operating income.
So that'll be part of the calculation now.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just couldn't quite match up the wording. Does anyone else have more questions? Oh, sorry, Brenda.
It's okay, Ann.
Sorry.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
So, I guess, maybe I'm belaboring the point. Is amortization needed in that?
I think it's a,
Or is it crystal clear
That's
in
the-
the language that it doesn't include any type of bond amortization?
In my mind, speaking as a former CPA, so overruling part,
a recovering CPA.
that is net income before depreciation and amortization is a term that any financial person will understand.
Yes. And I think it makes sense to
Effectively a
keep it
term
in.
of art.
Because there could be a time down the road in which we will have an amortization. Highly unlikely, but that's potential exists.
So this language, no one would look at that and say that
No,
that means
no.
we're adding back
No.
in the bond payments.
No,
Okay.
this is very vanilla
Okay.
language in
Alright.
my mind. And then there are a couple other tweaks that reflect, the fact that we self-insure some stuff. A couple Oxford commas because that's the way the world should work. But the big one is just a change in how we calculate distributable income.
Okay. Any other questions?
And this does, one more comment, sorry.
Okay,
Brenda.
go ahead, that's fine.
So like I said, to pass this or any other change to the organization agreement, it needs the affirmative vote of all 5 member city representatives. And then it has to be approved by your governing, 2 of your councils, 2 of the 3 councils before it's effective.
Okay.
The resolution is drafted such that we have 6 months to get those approvals or this essentially dies on the vine.
Okay.
So it'll come to Heber.
It'll come to Heber and Midway and
Definitely.
Charleston.
Charleston.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And how soon will that be?
Yeah, how soon?
If the board passes this today, I'll circulate draft resolutions to the cities in the next week or 2, and then
Okay.
whenever it can get on the agenda.
We can put it on the agenda in December if we have it. Okay?
We're already trying to be on the agenda in Heber on December 2nd, so 2 birds with one stone. if we can.
Yeah.
We have a pretty tight agenda, but yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we might need to push that to the second meeting in December just because of our large agendas. But maybe we can stick it on the consent agenda, so please send it to me, Mark, and I'll get it sent over.
I think that would be a good idea, Mayor,
Yeah.
to put it on the
We-
consent agenda.
we-
I think it would
Okay.
be easy
We
enough.
canceled our 16th. So we do have the December 2nd,
I mean, this is,
if not January. is fine.
when's the next question about distributable income? Not till the new year.
Not till
right?
January.
January.
So there's not an immediate timing issue with this.
Okay, any other questions? Then I'll accept a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the change to the organization agreement regarding the dividend calculation, resolution 2025-09,
And I'll,
as presented.
yeah, and I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Kevin and seconded by Sid that we accept the 2025-09 resolution. Any questions? Okay, Heidi,
Yes,
Aaron, Kevin,
Aye.
Sid,
Yes.
and I. So that passes unanimously. And if you can get that out to us as soon as we can, I'd like to have that in my meeting.
Will do.
Thank you.
Okay, if you need this here.
Okay,
Pretty sure. Okay. I'll jump back on.
okay, and
At
that's
6.
fine.
So,
Okay, at this time, Sid's leaving the meeting. Now we'll go into the approval of the 2026 through 2030 strategic plan. Jason? No wonder I can't see.
So in the packet is the strategic plan we've been talking about for the last few months, and we're just looking to get it solidified by a board vote as to this is the strategic plan for staff to guide staff, going forward. If there's any questions or concerns with it, I'm happy to address them.
Okay, is there any questions on the strategic plan? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve the strategic plan.
Just checking for a few, yep, there it is. I'm seeing a few details that we talked about before, but Aaron, you had asked for several things. I don't know if you can see it or not.
I feel good about what was in the packet. Brenda, I will make a motion that we approve the strategic plan as presented in the materials.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a first by Aaron and a second by Heidi that we accept the strategic plan. We'll have a vote now, Kevin?
Aye.
And I'm a aye. Heidi?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 4, that passes. Okay, wholesale power report. Emily, you're up, hon.
Okay, not a whole lot to report. We are overall at about 70% of budget for wholesale power and natural gas combined. Wholesale power, power purchases are at about 76% of the total annual budget. So we still have plenty of room left to finish the year out, hopefully under budget for power purchases. It was a little bit more for that final September invoice than I had anticipated because of an IPP adjustment, which I think will get adjusted down in the next 2 months billing. So we should still be on track to meet our budget this year. And then natural gas, we're well under budget.
So at this pace, if we stayed at this pace, how much under budget? I mean, it looks pretty substantial there.
We will be under budget for natural gas, definitely. We'll probably be closer to, so right now for natural gas, we're at 44% overall of the annual budget, or sorry, 32% of what we have budgeted for the year. We will burn more gas this month. We have burned more gas this month than we will next month, so we'll probably be maybe 60% of that budget. So we'll be under budget for sure on natural gas. Maybe slightly over on wholesale on the power purchases. So,
Okay.
you know, hopefully overall under budget for the combined two. So, we haven't seen the load really go crazy at all yet. It's been pretty close to last year in these shoulder months. So that's helping. We'll see what happens in December. It definitely, like today, popped up a little bit just because it's a little bit colder. So we'll see what happens. But that's all I have to report. Other than I did take the IRP survey down today. I got a few surveys today, so I had some results to share, but I'll include those and just send them out to you and let you know who the winners of the thermostats were.
Okay, sounds
That's
good.
all I have.
Anybody have any questions for Emily?
Thank you, Emily.
Yes, Emily, thanks a million. Okay, now we'll move on to our GM report. Jason.
Yeah. First, the UAMPS report. Well, the big topic at UAMPS is a new pooling agreement. And I'll just quickly go through, try to make this so you can see it. So UAMPS is needing to redo their pooling agreement. This is kind of a big deal for the company. You know, the pool can sometimes make or break that wholesale power report, depending on how things go within the pool. But they're going to be required to change this document because of the energy day ahead market that Pacificor is entering with the California Independent System Operator next year. So we had a pretty good meeting on this today. There's no doubt staff here has some concerns with it currently. We will get together on that this month and, you know, hopefully be able to iron out some of that stuff with them. We clearly brought up some of our concerns today in the meeting with the document. So hopefully they get addressed adequately. That's not actually the pooling agreement, but it is a change. The big changes to the pooling agreement are how they're handling meeting the resource adequacy requirements of the Energy Day Ahead market. And by that, they are embedding in the pooling agreement that they will do load forecasts for us, and then based on those load forecasts, actually buy the energy for us if we are in need of energy going into the market. There is an opt-out provision in that, and so we can opt out and then control our own destiny and make our own purchases if needed. But there's still some language there that I think needs to be cleared up a little bit. But this will be coming before the board. They want to get this approved before the Energy Day Ahead market happens. So they're looking for approval of the new pooling agreement before May 1st. So there'll be more to come on this agreement, you know, in the next couple of months. January meeting, it'll definitely be discussed. In our January meeting, it'll be discussed. I think they're trying to fast track it through the UAMPS process. I'm not sure that they're gonna actually be able to do that. You know, they'd like to have the approvals through the UAMPS process by the end of December, and I don't see us coming to terms with that. There's quite a few people that have some issues with the current draft of this, so that's the big news out of UAMPS is this new pooling agreement. It's not a huge change from the pooling that we have currently. Like I told them today, I was hoping that this new pooling agreement would, with today's technology and everything else, would give us, you know, a little bit more transparency and clarity to pricing from the pool. You know, we'll see if that actually happens. Currently, in the current draft, you know, there's no onus on them for that transparency. Because right now, the pool is literally a black box to us until we get our bill.
Right.
And you know, I think with this market shift and everything else, I think they should be able to add a little bit more transparency to the pool itself and give us a little bit more data to work with on making key decisions for purchases. So, you know, that's the big update from UAMPS. All of our UAMPS projects are, you know, operational and running the way they should. You know, Hunter's been running really well. The renewable resources are running really well. The Steel Solar Power Purchase Agreement that we approved a couple months ago, not Steel Solar, Fremont Solar, and storage. That got fully subscribed, and so our allotment stayed at the 2,000 kW out of that project. And, you know, everybody, all the energy is taken on that project, which was good news. There was no roll-up to higher KW levels or anything like that for us, so, to get it fully subscribed. You know, I don't have anything else on the UAMPS, so I'll move to IPA and,
So I've got a quick question for you, if you can hear me.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear you.
On the pooling agreement, do we, I mean, is it one factor or some of Adam's time or your time to put together what we want to see as far as transparency and then circulate that with other member cities to try to get some pressure to get that transparency? I'm not a fan of buying from a black box. And I'm just wondering, do we need to take a more proactive approach to directing what we want to see come back in that agreement?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, staff here has discussed that as far as, you know, meeting with other members, that I know have concerns with it as well. Me and Emily and Adam will meet and, you know, go over, get our red line, as crystal clear as we can and get it submitted to UAMPS, but we'll also be sharing that with other members. So, yeah, this, you know, we're gonna have to hit this one pretty hard and try to get some allies in the room with us for sure.
Okay, do you need any formal board direction? Will that help you in your communications with other members to say, my board directed me to reach out?
What you just said is good enough.
Great,
If
thanks.
everybody else here is nodding their heads, so we're good.
Yep, sounds good.
Anything else, Aaron?
No, that was it. Thank you.
IPA update is that one unit has reached its commercial operation, Unit 3, and Unit 4 should reach its commercial operation in December. And November 26th is still the date the coal will be shut off. The coal units will be shut off at the plant, and
Kendall Crittenden just came in.
we'll be going to, you know, that'll be a natural gas plant going forward. So things are aligning there as far as that project goes to get it refueled to a natural gas plant instead of a coal plant. Building update, the building's coming along really well. We're still anticipating the contractor turning the keys over to us early January, first week of January. We'll still need a little bit of time after that, probably, to get the building ready to move in as far as, you know, furniture installation, testing out, you know, networks and audio, video and all of that, making sure it's all functional for us. And, you know, right now we're on track for kind of being in there in that January time frame, maybe early February. It's really looking good. You know, they're laying the floors right now. You know, paint is, you know, pretty much concluded in the downstairs. They're painting upstairs. A lot of the finish work is being done. It's looking good over there. If anybody wants to come and take a walk through, by all means, just, you know, holler at me or any staff member, and we can meet you over there and go do a walkthrough if anybody wants to see it in this kind of phase of it. But it's really looking nice. It'll be a nice facility. It'll be a nice facility for a long time, I think. And that would be my update.
Are you envisioning possibly February board meeting moved over there, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a chance for February. I think Carly made me quote Dumb and Dumber, yeah.
Feels a little zealous to me from their standpoint. But, you know.
That's the hope, is that the hope?
Okay, thank you, Jason,
Yes.
for that report.
Yep.
Well, we're doing really well, guys. Does
You've gone
any-
through all
Yeah.
5 items?
Yeah.
Good grief.
Does
Yeah.
anybody else have anything, what about our staff that is here? Do they have any reports they'd like to give us while we've got time to do it?
Or is it worthwhile to go through these other items that we're scheduled after?
I don't think we can vote on them until after the hearing, Kevin.
Yeah,
They're just
Oh, I'm sorry,
approvals
those
for
are
the
for-
hearing
for-
items.
those
sorry.
are for the hearing,
Oh,
yeah.
Kendall, you're there now, great.
Yeah, I said he'd come in,
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
that's okay.
Okay, if you guys don't mind, I think you've still got 4, right? If I drop off and head out.
Yeah,
Do we
Yes.
have 4?
I don't
Aaron.
know if
Aaron's
you
on.
want
Aaron's
to
on.
take it. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to take an hour break and come back about 1:45 for the public hearings.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm here, I'm staying. But I
Okay.
thought if
But-
maybe the staff had anything that they wanted to say or tell us that this might be a good time to do it.
Well, here's another thing. Kevin, do you think that your new mayor will let you continue for the Midway representative?
But Bart and I talked about that. I'm gonna reach out to Craig tonight and if I can and confirm
Sure.
that.
Sure, we want to keep you, definitely. I'm just saying, we will have likely a new Heber person, and then a new Charleston person. And I'm just wondering how many new people we'll have, and we'll set up the training schedule again and such for next year.
Mayor, can you let Bart or I know who you're thinking
Mm-hmm.
the new Heber representative will be?
Right, and I've got to reach out to all of the members now that the election's done and, see about other board assignments. But Aaron, I just have to warn you right now, you're not going anywhere. Thank you for continuing to stay on this board if you can, please.
I was actually texting you saying, please can I stay on this one, so that works.
Yes, good, excellent. But I do think it's time to switch some others around too.
Yeah, I'm happy to be involved, where Scott was with, tourism as well if needed.
Everybody wants to be on that board, it's super fun. So maybe I'll have to flip a coin, right, Brenda?
Right.
Yeah,
I've got a good
Somebody else
coin.
wants it, they can have it.
You're gonna use
Yeah, somebody else wants
You
it,
almost
that's
had to
fine,
use it.
I was,
I don't know.
well, I'm not sure yet, Aaron, but I was going to reach out now that the election's over.
Sounds good.
They're settling down to try to get preferences and such. Don't worry, there's plenty of work to do, right? Right, Brenda?
Yes, ma'am.
Right,
And Kevin, plenty.
Yes, ma'am.
But I just think that, your expertise can be used in other boards too. So, anyway, that was one thing I wanted to kind of touch base on with everybody is to try to please let us know if you're staying. Or Brenda, if you could get us the information for, the new person out of Charleston so that we can contact them, that would really be helpful.
You won't know for,
till we have the recount.
has she decided to do the
Next
recount,
week.
or she submit the request?
Yeah,
Real quickly, while we still have just a few minutes before you gotta leave, Mayor.
Okay, sure.
The UAMPS annual member meeting is
Oh,
on December 17th at 9 a.m.
that was that one I was invited to, but you told me that there wasn't any voting I needed to do, but I was concerned. What else is it that we need to do there, please?
It's literally just their annual meeting where, they have a keynote speaker come, and then UAMPS will give a report on the year and what they're working on, and then they have a luncheon speaker as well, and after that, it's pretty well over, so.
I'm gonna ask if anybody on the board would be available and open at that time to go. I have several other meetings that same morning and afternoon, Jason.
Yeah.
So could anybody on our board attend in my place?
We all got invited.
Okay,
What time is it?
9 a.m.
December 17th, and I think it starts what time, 9 a.m. you said?
9 a.m. at the Salt Lake Marriott City Center.
Yeah,
In
sounds like a
Salt Lake.
fancy affair, guys, if any of you can go.
And when is it over?
It'll be over, you know, after lunch, if you wanna stay for lunch.
I looked at it and considered it. I have another meeting that day at noon, so that I need to be to. I attended this
You've
several
attended-
years
you've
ago, and it's
attended
an
before, yeah.
informative meeting.
Yeah, yeah, it's,
If anybody can go.
Lunch speaker.
yeah, they usually have some pretty good speakers and.
Touch on power issues and things
issues,
like
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
It's informative if you can go.
Okay, well, that sounds like somebody needs to be there and take some good notes then, perhaps.
Oh, well, I'll be there,
Yeah,
so. Can
that's good
report on
too,
it.
but, you know, it
Yeah.
always helps to get that board perspective too.
For sure, yep.
I'll look, I've got another thing scheduled, I'll see if I can move that.
Yeah, it's not a bad one.
Aaron just came in.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, everyone, thank you so much for sticking around and going through the public hearings. I hope all of that goes well.
I just wanted to rip through that, if you wanna attend it.
Rip through the agenda fast.
All right, so
Thank you.
Mayor,
Thank you,
we'll
everyone.
we'll
Good
let
luck.
you leave and we'll carry on.
Thank you very much. And
We'll
Kendall,
visit
thank
for
you
a
very
while
much.
and then we'll carry on.
Okay,
Okay.
good luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Did we
Bye.
decide we could end and come back, or
Yes,
do we wanna sit here and?
no,
You
we
certainly don't
can,
have to sit
We
here.
can continue or do an adjournment.
we don't need to adjourn. We
Not
can
adjourn,
just-
but
Just come back.
Yeah, just
I'm not going anywhere.
recess the meeting and then we can,
Okay, we'll go into
I'm gonna grab
recess
some dinner.
until
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
10 till?
do we need
Yeah,
a motion
be
for
here at
that,
6.
Mr.
I make a-
Parliamentarian?
Yeah, I make a motion we
Sure.
recess till
Okay,
5:50.
okay.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second to recess till 5:50. All in favor, Kevin,
All right,
Kendall,
Aye.
Yes.
Aaron, and yes. Okay,
Okay.
and then,
Sid should rejoin.
Sid will be back, Sid will be back for that too.
okay.
Okay, we're back from our recess. I hope everybody enjoyed their food and whatever they went and done. We're gonna start, we're gonna open our public hearing on our 2026 bonds.
Let's see how long it would take you.
Adam,
Did I
I've
say
got you
that
down
on
as
something
doing
else?
that. Or somebody. Who's doing it? You? Your name?
Randy Larson.
Randy Larson. Okay, Randy, you got the floor.
All right, Randy Larson with Gilmore and Bell, bond counsel to the district. And today is a public hearing
Exactly.
available for anyone who wants to speak to the impact of the bonds or its impact on the private sector. And so I'll leave the decorum decisions to your real lawyer, Adam here, if you know you had certain times you wanted to limit to. But that's the legal purpose for tonight's meeting, or this agenda item. I believe there's a following agenda item for approving the official statement. I'll return to that after the hearing if it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Adam.
Unless any of the board have initial questions here, I would suggest formally opening the public hearing.
I did.
Okay,
We opened the public hearing.
okay.
Okay, any comments on our bond? 2026
Do
bond.
we need to give any information on it prior to the public?
Well, that's what I don't know.
I'm happy to give some.
Yes,
It
please,
might be helpful to the public.
please.
The bonds being suggested are secured by the net revenues of the electrical system. They are on a parity, which is a fancy word for having the same lien as your prior bonds, which means that requires enough coverage of net revenues to justify being on parity with your outstanding bond systems. They finance solely capital improvements. The approval of this board in the last meeting was for an indenture of trust, is a bond document that secures those revenues to additional bonds, as well as a bond purchase agreement, and of course, parameters around those bonds. And that's what has already been approved, and this is a public hearing in accordance with statute to be held before such bond issue.
What's the term on the bonds?
25 years is the maximum term. Good question.
And does that wrap the bonds that are already on the books into does it wrap them together and extend it to
No.
25 years?
No, it's a separate bond, but you can't pay on just one of those bonds while they're
Right.
jointly outstanding. Does that make sense?
Perfect. It doesn't change the payment on the initial volume.
No, not at all.
And what's the interest rate? Is it a fluctuating rate with,
Fixed rate,
it's a fixed rate?
and our maximum rate, I think, was 5.5%.
5.5 is our max.
Now, we anticipate a much lower interest rate than that, but for statutory purposes, we have the highest coupon, like the farthest maturing bond. These are typically serial bonds, so you have a 1 year, a 2 year, all the way through. And the farthest maturing bonds, we have to cover the potential of the highest interest rate for that. The combined interest rate will be much lower, but nonetheless, we have the 5.5% to cover the potential farthest maturity. And I should note, Laura Lewis from LRB Finance asked me to fill both sides today, and she regrets not being able to be here. She's got a lot of extra duties right now, including moving into her house.
Okay.
What was the max amount that we,
28 on this.
28?
28 million.
And what capital projects are those planned to pay for, or are they unknown capital projects at this time?
They're known.
They're known.
No, there was some substations, some land acquisition for some substations. There's a power plant, also included in those bonds.
There will be no security interest granted in those assets. It's just a net revenue pledge, but it is a good question to say. And by virtue of law, other than a de minimis amount, they have to be spent on capital projects.
Okay, I'm gonna ask right now. Sid, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate that.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, guys, for being patient with me.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, behind you, Brenda, yes.
Sean?
I was just wondering, I mean, so is all 28 million allocated for capital projects right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, de minimis amount, right?
Well, the de minimis is allowed, but we are fully allocating the capital.
So is there gonna be potential rate increases based on the bond repayment?
We actually, when we did our last rate study, factored in this
Yes.
bond issuance, and so any rate increases associated with this were already approved last April.
I know you guys go off accrual accounting, and when you guys include depreciation into your cash flow essentially, and I mean, the power company runs on really tight margins. I mean, you guys run essentially a break even, and so I'm just concerned that with increased expenses that it'll trickle down, like your cost of gas generation almost doubled from last year. And so there's, it's expensive for power. And at the end of the day, I'm one of your net meter customers, so my power bill is $18 a month, but it does still have an impact on the community. So I just wanna make sure that you guys are solvent, that there isn't those concerns that this is gonna be something that's gonna increase for the ratepayers. And hopefully you guys are considering plugging into the new Brigham City nuclear plant. That would be great.
That'll be a few years down the road.
Yeah. Okay.
Was that good?
What,
Just-
on that question, just to clarify, what was the rate increase projected for?
So we're looking at 3.5% this year in October, or when I say this year, I actually mean 26 in October and 3.5 in 27.
27, okay.
But one last question, I mean, what is the current debt load of Heber Light and Power?
Our current is right around 45 million.
And that's before the 28 million?
Mm-hmm.
And those are all long-term, low interest?
Yeah, they're about 4.5% interest on each of those. We have one bond that comes off next month. The 2012 bond will be fully paid off next month. And then that leaves us with the 2019 bond, which was for 18 million, and then the 2023 bond, which was for 32 million.
The bonds are anticipated to enjoy an investment rating of A or higher. And that's historically, the district has been rated.
So, just a couple of questions. So, I think by statute, you're required, your debt service coverage ratios has to be about 1.25.
1.25.
And what is it currently?
1.25.
Do you anticipate?
Do we need people to state their name for the record?
I'm Scott Reese, live in Heber City.
Sean Taylor, Charleston?
Bruce Haywood, Heber City.
So currently we are
Actually,
covering,
Wasatch County.
we're over our ratio right now currently.
And the future ratio is something we took into account with the proposed budgeting, impact fees and everything else for the future year.
And then just a second question. So it looks like you go out for bonds every, well, at least over the last several years, every 4 years, something like that. Do you anticipate that this will cover you for a 4-year period, 5-year period? I mean, what do you,
Probably 2.
2 year?
The growth in the valley is requiring some serious capital infrastructure additions. This bond, as Jason mentioned, we've already bought a piece of land to put a substation that's gonna be needed on that northern development as part of the annexation by Heber City. So $3 million of this bond will be to reimburse the company that we pulled out of reserves to buy that land. We'll get engineering done on that substation. We'll be able to order some of the long leads, like the transformer. But the bulk of the construction costs on that substation will have to come when those long lead materials are coming, which is probably about 2 to 3 years out. And at that point, we will most likely need to do another financing for that, as well as the gas plant substation. We've got money in this bond to pay for some of the equipment that we're having to do on that job, but there may be some additional funds needed on that one as well. And the gas plant, Plant 1 replacement, for those of you who don't know, our original gas plant 1, we had an evaluation of the building done and it was found to be in a condemnable state, so we had to replace it. And so the costs associated with rebuilding that plant are what the majority of this financing is for, but to put engines in it down the road, we may have to finance for that.
This is the gas plant's down at the facility there.
But in answer to your question, we're probably 3 years for another one, and then hopefully, assuming we don't have to build any more substations, hopefully that would be the last financing for maybe 10, 15 years.
Do impact fees cover a significant portion of the capital costs, or is that primarily?
Right now, we have
The
about a
rates.
$40 million a year capital plan for the next couple of years. We're collecting, this year we're on track to collect $4 million in impact fees. So no, it's not even a dent. I mean, it's a dent, but that's why we're having to do these financings, so.
So can I ask another question? So, I don't know whether Utah state law allows it, but, is there the possibility for growth to pay for growth? I mean, like if you're building a substation and 70% of that substation is for new development, 30% for redundancy, is there the possibility that, that new growth should pay for 70% of that substation, 30% should be covered by the existing residents because it provides redundancy, reliability?
So on that regard, an asset like a substation is typically such a large expense and such requirement that you have to actually, if you build it, they will come kind of thing, so you have to put it in. So we use impact fees where we can. We also have built into our rates because, as you mentioned, there's the current customer load will take advantage of having that substation.
Sure.
So part of the rate is that. On our line extensions, that one we require the developers to pay for them right up front. But the substations are a little more tricky because they need to be in place before any of that other stuff.
But in general, that's the right concept.
Yeah.
If you could build 1/10,000th of a substation for each new customer, you know, the new customers would pay for their share of it. So that's an accurate general statement in Utah.
State law puts limits on what you can include in your impact.
Right.
And we do studies fairly often so that we get as much as we can from the new development. By state law, as much as they allow, try to get as much as we possibly can.
And that's one of the other items.
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
the
we do.
agenda.
It trickles
That's the
down, it
second.
trickles down into a couple other agenda items, it's like, okay, do I hold that or do I?
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah, it's a good question too, because one of the other things that we do is, we do want some degree of system redundancy,
Sure.
and some degree of system resilience. So, whether that's operating below a certain capacity for the length of for the overall health and lifespan of the equipment, or just having an actual N+1 kind of redundancy or something. Which is hard, because you build it when it's not really needed yet, but it's going to be needed, but does that make sense? It's
The lead time.
needed slightly later.
Well, and we've been, and granted, this is another agenda item tonight, but we've been pushing to make sure that everything's included that we can in the impact fee study to make sure that we're maximizing the amount of impact fees that can be charged for new growth and new development within the limits of state law, unfortunately.
And if you have a lead time on a transformer of 2.5 to 3 years, you have to have the transformer ordered, but it can recoup the costs. When the developer's coming in and says, I'm gonna put in a 500 lot development, and certainly as somebody that's been here for a while, I'd like to see that recoup. So,
We all would, yeah.
Okay, is there any more, comments on the bonds?
Any online?
I don't think,
There's not.
They're all
okay,
consultants or staff.
all right.
Kevin, sorry, I'll show you Lenny's.
Okay,
I don't have anyone who can register for it.
No hands up, yeah.
all right. So with that, we will go out of the public hearing for the bonds. Okay?
Do we need motions to end or anything?
Do we need a motion to end that, Adam? I don't think so, where we're going in and out.
Great.
Okay, so now we'll move into the public hearing.
Did you wanna vote on that one, or?
I think we're gonna vote on them all after.
It shows a separate, yeah.
Yeah, it shows a separate one for at the end. So I think we'll vote on it after we can do all the hearings. Okay, on impact fee enhancement and capital facilities plan. We have Mark Pochamp online with us, and he's gonna explain this to us. Mark, are you there?
I am, I'm right here.
Hi, thank you.
Hi. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can share my screen. There we go. All right. This is, what I'm gonna go through, tonight is just a presentation on, basically we updated the, PowerPoint of the, impact fee study. Last year, we did the study and we adjusted the rates. I believe the increase was 34.7%. last year. This year, we're asking for an additional 2.5%. What we did in looking at the capital addition plan, we have about $112 million of projected expenditures over the next 7 years. And in order to fund it, we needed to adjust the impact fees by that 2.5% to fund the capital improvement plan while still trying to minimize, as much as possible any rate impacts on customers. And back several years ago, we adjusted all of your rates to be in line with the cost. So what we've been doing the last few times, you can see they're pretty much across the board increases for all the different amperages and voltage levels. So everyone, any new development's going to be seeing about a 2.5% increase in impact fees. Is there any questions or concerns of what we did? This slide actually shows the comparison between other communities. And what you see is Heber, as far as impact fees are concerned, we're on the higher side of the surveys. For a 200 amp service, we'd be charging about $6,900, which is the highest of anyone in the survey. In commercial, we're also pretty much the highest. When we get to the larger commercial, we're pretty much on average. And a lot of that's driven because our studies, what we're doing is based purely on the cost of service, where others, I think, have intentionally tried to keep the residential impact fees lower and fund portions of that through the rates. So we're trying to avoid doing that. Is there any questions at all?
I will say on that point, the residential is the impact for this utility. You know, that's what the major impact is, and so we, you know, have to do it on the residential side because that's where the impact is the most.
That's where they grow, but we're not a major commercial.
Now, if we were seeing like a lot of commercial, but the majority of our large commercial is government, so that's why we don't really go after them too hard.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Sure, since I'm here, I'll ask again.
Okay.
So how frequently do you review this annually? Do you update it annually, or do you?
We've been doing it annually.
We actually put a motion into effect last year in April that made it so that we will do this annually until we change our mind and take that back out of the process.
Yeah, the rate we're growing, it's just very important to stay on top of it and make sure that we're, you know, charging what we need in that capital facilities plan and getting the most we can out of these impact fees. It's the only way that we can even come close to having growth, even come close to paying for itself, so.
One of the other things that was kind of a founding direction for us to make these couple of changes and look at this more often too is there's a period over the last several years where rates didn't necessarily increase at the rates didn't increase at the rate that they could have or potentially should have, so there was a large increase a couple of times, and this board has been really vocal about trying to not do that again, trying to look at it often so that we don't have to do
Spread it out.
an enormous increase when there's an increase.
This board's done two very, very large impact fee increases. So that's why this one is at a very small margin. It's because it's following up to a couple of very large ones.
So you say residential's a driver in Valley.
Yeah.
At least so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Your name?
Scott Lemon, Charleston. When I look at the numbers up here, do you have a solid projection of like known and forecasted, numbers on how many residential hookups commercial you expect in 2026 or onward?
Like Bart said, we're collecting around $4 million in impact fees annually. So that's about what we'll collect next year. That's what we're anticipating again. So
If we could guess what the different jurisdictions were gonna do with growth, we could make a better prediction.
That's
Yeah.
what I was wondering, is if you
It's
get
kind
those
of-
numbers from anybody
Yeah,
to
it's
help
kind of
you.
looking in a
Crystal ball.
crystal ball, but we do try to keep up on this. We do try to watch this very closely. Mark's been very good to help us, and I think that he's done a very good job. Is there any other questions?
I might take a second to remind those in the room and anybody that joins, there are pretty good details on the heberpower.com website. If you click on that, go down to the public hearings section on the main page. Each of these public hearings does have some supporting detail. So for instance, the capital plan and operating budget is available on the third one. It is a lot, so definitely if you have questions, do reach out. Staff would be happy to answer it, or the board would be happy to answer as we can, but there's a lot of answers in the packet as well, because we tried to get that ready in advance.
Okay, if there's no other,
I just have one other question.
Okay.
And it may not be related specifically to the issue at hand, but what is the percentage of power that Heber Valley sells that's produced here and not purchased out on the market
how
from
much power do
other
we
power vendors outside of the valley, I guess I'd say? What percentage do we
That we generate
self-generate?
here.
Yeah.
Probably about 20%, if you counted the Jordanelle, maybe closer to 30%.
We generate here.
So that's actually generated here between our internal gas generation and Jordanelle.
And our small
hydros.
hydros, yeah.
But then there are a variety of projects that Heber Power participates in through UAMPS that we effectively own a share of throughout Utah and a few adjacent states too.
Will we be participating in the one that he just mentioned in Ogden?
The
We
Brigham
don't know.
City nuclear one.
Yeah, Brigham City.
Is that even far enough along? Is that a UAMPS?
Who
Not a
knows?
UAMPS project.
It's not a UAMPS project.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows?
Definitely too early to know on that one.
I'm just wondering how much fluctuation we can expect in third-party market sale, buying the power from outside of our market.
We have a very diverse portfolio, and that can be found on the webpage too.
Of
Steam,
where you're,
wind, solar, and if nuclear comes on board, I would hope we could participate in that. We'd have to look. We years ago were in the,
Carbon-free,
the one up in Idaho
carbon-free power project through UAMPS. but-
through UAMPS, but
is that the one that has the wind turbines?
no, it was a nuclear
Nuclear
plant up
plant.
there.
But it didn't last, so.
Way too expensive, but we have a diverse portfolio and we're always trying to expand that. And I would hope if that comes on, if that becomes a reality, it might be available to us.
Yeah.
Most every board meeting, unless we're cat meeting like we were tonight, Emily does a really good walkthrough of where we're buying, what we're buying, what the different mixes, everything that kind of goes into that. It's pretty interesting, and she does a good job of it. We didn't do as big a one tonight, but
But there wasn't a big change.
It's there all the.
There
It can be
wasn't-
redundant when you hear
Yeah.
it on, but.
Yeah, there wasn't a big change in that. So, any other questions on the impact fee?
I've got a comment, not so much a question, but Sean Taylor, Charleston. I mean, all the new construction that's going in is, a lot of that's really big, multi-million-dollar homes, like, I don't have a lot of heartburn over raising their impact fees. And so, like, I look at, you know, the financial numbers that I brought up earlier with, you know, all the money that's being spent and how close we are to break even, charge the extra money, because I have a lot less heartburn with impact fees than raising rates. So if you gotta look at a source to bring in more revenue, I would say let's look at that source.
Okay, thank you, Sean. I wanna thank you guys for all being here and helping with this. This is important to us to hear the feedback from the people. Okay,
If I can just help on that, because that's a good question, is what's being recommended is really at the maximum
yeah,
per state law.
yeah.
And, yeah,
I'd be fine
but
charging that.
believe me, if in theory we could double these, I'm all
Yeah, I
for it.
would too.
But we're limited by state law. And so, and that's one of the things that, and we collectively as a board, have been pushing for, to make sure that growth is paying as much as they are supposed to pay or can pay per state law. And so that's the only thing that's limiting us, is the state. If it wasn't for that, I'd be pushing for higher, but we can't.
Got it.
Hey, any other questions on this? Yes,
And I'm gonna go back, when you talked about 4 million was the number you expected forecast, rough calculations, that's less than 600 residential hookups, right? Is that the growth for the year that
For
we
the year.
expect in Heber? It seems low.
On average, I mean, there's years we get 800, there's years we get 400.
Okay.
So, you know, we can have big years on impact fees, if they really build quick. You know, the thing is though, the developer can come in and pay for the line extensions and get the development done, but we don't start collecting on impact fees until they start asking for building permits. And so you could see, you know, whole developments, you know, but we're not collecting on those impact fees until the building permits start coming out.
Okay. Thanks.
So there is a delay on this stuff.
Just for the benefit of the public, I wanted to walk these gentlemen through where you can find the resources we just talked about. If the public or anybody goes to heberpower.com, you can look right on the main page and look at, as you scroll down a little bit, you can see the view meetings and agendas, and in that section you can find the meetings and the packets for any of the meetings that have gone before. So you can kind of see those. If we open up, for instance, the October report in the main packet, starting on page 77, we have the wholesale power report, and we can kind of go through all of what we're purchasing, natural gas, cost of power, load, all of the different mix and system resource allocations that Emily walks us through.
So that's in the October packet?
It's in every month, yep. But it happened to start on page 72 in October.
When you do a IRP, integrated resource plan, I'm just looking at title, I mean, how frequently does anyone do that?
How often do we do the IRP?
Every 2 to 3 years, depending on if we have a lot of changes or not. We just approved our IRP last month, so.
This is our latest.
okay. Any more
Great
questions? Okay, we have nobody online. So, I wanna thank Mark and I wanna thank Jillian for being there for us. We will be, taking a vote on this after we get through with our next thing. So you're welcome to stay, you're welcome to go, whatever you wanna do, but thank you, Mark, thank you, Jillian, for being there for us and helping us through this.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, we'll go out of that public hearing, and we will go into public hearing on 2026 capital and operating budget and fee schedule, and that's Bart.
That was you, Brenda.
Okay, we're done. It's me.
Alright,
Motion.
Motion to,
Let's see if we can get through this fairly smoothly. I can't find the clicker, so I'm gonna have to stand behind both on the capital and the OMAG. OMAG standing for operations, maintenance, and general administration in general. But we'll go through the OMAG first, then capital after that. Slow over there. This budget presentation will cover some company data. We'll go through those customer accounts as mentioned. The rates that we have, because we have fees and rates that change, we have to have them approved as part of this, and then we'll hit those OMAG capital budgets. Starting with our data, company data, back in '24, as of October 31st, all this data is as of October 31st, we had 13,296 residential customers and 2,355 general service customers. As of a few weeks ago, that 13,296 has went to 13,804, or about a 38.8% increase on the residential side. On the general service, we actually came down 0.9%, so we've lost some of our general service customers. Our sales energy in 2024 was 108 megawatt hours on the residential side, 76 on the general service. That through the end of October this year is up to 115, or roughly a 5.8% increase in energy sales on the residential, 78 on the general service, or about a 3.3% increase. Dollar-wise, revenue-wise, we collected $13 million through October 31st last year on the residential and 7.7 on the general service. So far this year, we've collected 16.5 on the residential, or a 25.5% increase. And then on the general service, we've seen about a 21% increase. A lot of that came as a result of the rate increase, the fairly substantial rate increase that we had last April, or this. Yeah. So, that's some of our company data. Here's a little bit more on as far as our head counts. A year ago we were at 47, we're at 49 now. So. Rates and fees, not a lot of change this year in the fees. These are all the fees that have been from prior year. Still a 3% convenience fee on our impact fee if anyone wants to pay with a credit card. But late payment charges are stayed the same. We still have a seasonal disconnect. On our construction fees, our impact fees, as Mark showed you there, are based on the amperage that a customer is requesting. The line extensions, any new development, that's a bid estimate, so it could be anywhere from $500 to $500,000 or more even. We do charge $200 for initiation or will serve letter, $300 for design fee. If they want to change their design, then we charge them $20 a unit on the resubmittal. We are charging $85 on a truck roll fee, and our dig-in damage mobilization fee, it's on a graduated scale. We have had a few dig-ins this year that we hit them with a $1,000 fee, and they were not happy about it, but it was, that's in addition to what it costs us to fix the equipment. So.
Glad we put that in place before we had those dig-ins. Stop doing that, guys.
Yeah.
It was
We had a
mistakes.
nice argument the other day on that, so. Our wire pull fee, so for anybody that's having a meter set up to 400 amps, we're charging them $380 pull the wire plus the meter cost. Anything over 400, they have to pull the wire, but we still charge them for the meter that they're getting. Those are our fees on that. Net metering application fee is $400. We still sell generation transfer switches. We actually bought a pallet of these at the beginning of last year, and we sold them all, so which is strange because we had a lot of years not selling one, but now we sold them. And we do charge for outside lighting. That number is wrong. That should be $960. I'm sorry, my presentation's wrong. So it should not be $750. $960 is the number. So our rates. the way we try and change rates on a shoulder month, meaning those months in which the power bill is gonna be less due to the weather conditions being more favorable for less usage of energy. So we always change in October typically. Last year we changed in April, but that's why it shows for cycle one is Heber City, cycle 2 is everything else in the valley. Cycle 1 runs the 9th of the month through the 8th of the following month. And so these rates will go into effect effectively on the 9th of next year. So I have to put both in here. But right now, the rates are set such that if you got less than a 400 amp meter, you're gonna pay a $18.40 a month in your customer base charge. If you're over that 400 amps or equal to 400 amps, you're 30 by 40. The first 1,000 kilowatt hours is charged at 11.8 cents a kilowatt hour, and anything over that's at 14.1. There is a demand charge of 25 cents a kW kilowatt for less than 400 amps, or 75 cents for equal to or greater than 400 amps. And if you're solar net metering, it's not a true net meter, you're getting 9 cents rather than 11.8. That's the current rates through September 8th of 26 for Heber City residents and September 22nd for everybody else in the valley. After that point, because it's in the 26th year, I have to show what the rates will be. You'll see that it jumps up to $18.90 from $18.40, so basically 50 cents on that customer charge increase. The kilowatt hour rate will go up, and the demand charge goes up. But this is also for opt-out because of the way the board voted. All customers will be put onto a time of use rate unless they choose to opt out. If you opt out of the time of use rates, this would be the rate that you would be on. Otherwise, we'll go to our time of use rates. These are the current rates that are being charged right now for those who are, it's currently on an opt-in. And it'll stay this rate until that change, which everybody will then switch over to the opt-out. But you'll notice the base charge, the demand charge is the same, but the on-peak in the winter is 18.9 cents a kilowatt hour. The off-peak is 8.6 cents a kilowatt hour. The summer on-peak is 24.2 cents a kilowatt hour. The summer off-peak is 10.5. Another note, all of our net metering customers are time of use. Currently, they do not have the option to opt out on that. So you can choose to opt in now. If you don't opt in now, you will be put on it effective 9/9 or 9/23 next year.
But I understand what that is, what he's talking about.
If I have a solar system and I send you back power, then I get net metering.
No, that's net metering. No, this is what it's
Time
doing,
of use.
encouraging you to do your laundry
at
night instead of during the peak time of the day.
So what you're saying is, let me just repeat what I heard, is every customer will move to a time of use rate once they choose to go back to the standard rate.
Correct. Effective next, like I say, it'll be in the October bill, but it'll be effective November, or September 9th or 23rd.
I hate to have you do this, but, so I understand this time use rate. What's the stand if you opt out? What is the fee per kilowatt hour?
So opting out,
So let's say you opt out, you just say, I'm gonna pay the base fee. And
it'll be
there
this
you
one.
go.
So the base would be 12 cents a kilowatt hour for the first
Okay.
1,000, and then 14.4 for the
Gotcha.
So there's two pretty interesting things that happen with the time of use. One is if you time it correctly, you could save at least from the 12 to the 8 cents. You know, we at winter off peak and the 12 to the summer off peak. You could save either 4 cents per kilowatt hour or 2 cents per kilowatt hour. The other thing that's interesting about on peak off peak is that there isn't the same kind of overage past the 1,000 kilowatt hours. So if you go to off peak, your usage rate doesn't increase in the same way. So there's a pretty good incentive, and the company has been good about communicating to customers that there's an incentive to put smart devices in or to change your habits such that you align with off peak, because you can actually save quite a bit of money. The company will actually save the money as well. It costs us less to provide power
purchase
in
less
those
power.
times.
Well, and you have the rebate program we get to later that offers these thermostat.
Correct.
So, what, on the summer peak, tell me what the hours are.
On both summer and the winter, the peak hours are 3 to 10, Monday through Friday, except holidays. So your weekend, all weekend long is off-peak. The holiday days is off-peak. So those are the rates that are effective
9/23, 9/9.
9/26, effectively. There was a change between what's here and what was in the board packet. I made an error. I did not have the demand charge listed on one of them, so I would get that.
So, with my solar at my house, I've got battery backup. So if I go home and I say, I'm gonna go start feeding you guys back a couple thousand watts of power, does that net metering, does it change at all, or is it just 9 cents straight?
It's just 9 cents straight, whatever you're giving us back.
So that makes me very unmotivated to cycle my batteries and send power back then.
Pretty much.
Have you guys ever considered any incentives for net meter customers with batteries to feed you power? Cause that's
Doesn't
hard,
do us
that's
much
hard on
good.
your, that's hard on your batteries. I've never done it because I know it's hard on my batteries.
Yeah. And it doesn't do the utility much good.
Cause that's your off-peak time,
Yeah.
up until 10 o'clock at night though.
Well, those kilowatts, once you feed them back into the distribution system, it's not that helpful. It's not like it's such a small
Couple
amount.
thousand watts doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
such a small amount that there's
So my
There's not a lot.
transformer's connected with my neighbor's, it probably never goes back through that transformer, it just goes to my neighbor's house.
or it goes into that transformer and we lose it with heat.
Fair enough. I bet it never pushes back. I only
Yeah.
push maybe 7,000 or 8,000 watts during the day.
Yeah.
We met with another utility yesterday, and we showed them these rates. They're like, "You're paying it back? Why would you give them 9 cents? You can go buy it on the market for 3.5." It's like,
So in fairness, I've never got a check from you guys. I always burn it with electric heaters in the wintertime.
yeah. But that's good for you though. That you're
Well, I intentionally do that in the winter. I heat my garage with an electric heater because it's free power anyway.
yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Just to reiterate, so off-peak is 3 till 10.
On peak is 3 to 10.
On-peak.
So off peak is anything 10 p.m. till 3 o'clock the next afternoon. Any other questions on this?
So tell your wife to quit doing the laundry at 3 o'clock, 3
Yeah.
to 10.
No more
I'm gonna have to
laundry
check.
after work.
Laundry in the
I'm
morning,
doing it.
shut your doors and windows in the afternoon.
Alright,
I'm
so
gonna have to turn too.
these are all the general service rates. They're gonna be the same. You're gonna see 2 screens. You're gonna see the current and then what changes to next October, September, whatever. And so on our general service small, the base rate's 26, demand rate's 12.10, 8.5 cents on that first 500, and then 6.8 cents on the additional. That will change to 29, 12.6, 7.8, and 7. On the 3-phase, general service small, it's the same rates on the kilowatt hour, but the base charge is higher. And that will change as well. Our small side note, we no longer have a residential pumping rate. That all got rolled into residential, so you'll see the small general service pumping. They are on time of use now. We push them to time of use as well. Currently at $41 for that base charge, $9.85 for demand, and then you'll see those on and off peaks. That will go to 44.5, 9.9, and then on and offs. We have our general service medium customers. These are anybody from 30 kilowatts up to 250 kilowatt hours. Their base charge is 150 with a demand rate of 14.45. All their energy is at 6.8. They will go to 155 and then 14.95 a kilowatt hour with a base rate of all energy of 7 cents a kilowatt hour. There's a pumping class for that group, they follow the same suit, they also have time of use. And then our general service large is anybody over 250 kW of service. Their customer charge is $3.57, a demand rate of $15.35, and all kilowatts at 6.5 cents. We go to $3.72 and the demand of $15.35, and then they will go to time of use as well. So that's our rates that are being presented. Now we'll go into our OMAG budget. This is the revenues first. So you'll see our actuals from the prior 2 years, what we're forecasting to end this year with, and our budget for next year. So we're looking to wrap out this year just under 30 million. We'll be just right around 32.5 million next year on our sales of electricity. Jordanelle, we break them out because we take all the power off of the Jordanelle Dam, but we have contracts with Lehigh and St. George to sell them a third each. And so that's what that represents, is what we anticipate selling to Lehigh and St. George. You'll see that we're pretty consistent year over year with what we get from them. Those are negotiated locked in rates, and we pretty much get the same production out of that dam every year. So we do charge for connection fees, so that stays, it goes up and down, depending on how much we have going on. So, and then a bunch of other like penalty income for our customers that fall into delinquent status, and people want to do those seasonal disconnects and truck rolls and things like that. So we're kind of forecasting to finish the year a little over 32 million in revenues, and then next year just under 35 million in revenues. Any questions on the revenue? Okay. Spend a little time on expenses then. So our power purchases, there's a couple reasons. You'll see that our 26 budget drops off from our 25 forecast, which is up from 24 and 23. There's a couple reasons for that. Main reason, there's some, it's not really legislative, Dan, but
No, it's just balancing authorities, going into a market with CAISO.
it has us a little bit scared as far as the way things are gonna work out. So we're shifting some of our planned energy to our production, internal production, and shifting away from being in the market, a little less exposure there. So that's why you'll see that drop off for next year. Jordanelle number matches the revenue number, so that was just kind of a in and out. This one has caused confusion in the past. Most of our salaries, our wages, benefits and stuff, we try and send them to the cost centers that they belong. So like the maintenance groups, their wages and benefits are gonna sit in that maintenance bucket. But there are unallocated salaries. I'm one of those. I'm admin. Riley that works for me, she's one. Jason's one. Carly's one. So this is kind of the salaries that don't have a heavy bucket to go to. This is their bucket. You'll see that it's pretty close to what it is year over year. Kind of changes with, like last year, or for this year, Jason and I put a lot of our time into a couple capital projects. The new office building being one that spends a lot of our time. So that's why you'll see that it's not as much this year as what we're expecting next year, because hopefully the building's done and we won't have to spend as much time babysitting that. But system maintenance wise though, we try and keep this consistent. We had a bump up this year. A lot of that was due to tree trimming, in an effort to try and minimize risk there, but we've also had a few issues at the hydro plants we've had to deal with, and so you'll see a little spike up there this year. We figure next year we'll probably operate much the same, so that's why we're coming in about there. We have had to make an additional plan on vegetation management to try and, our insurance renewal in 2025 educated us quite heavily on the fact that we've got to get our arms around our cabin communities, or we will not have any kind of insurance. And exposed to a lot of risk there, so we had to step up our veg management program for next year. The fabulous depreciation line, you'll see that we added the Second Point substation, $22 million project, so they jumped up 4 million, from 3.8 million, and then this year we'll add our building on there as well. It depreciates on a different timetable, so it increases a little bit more, so we'll have quite a bit more depreciation expense. Here's where our gas generation I was mentioning, we're shifting our focus a little bit there to try and soften the EDAM nightmare that's coming. So gas generation includes the cost of the fuel as well as the maintenance on those engines. This other bucket, I hate other, but sometimes you have nowhere else to put it, but this is mainly our liability insurance, so it kind of falls in here. That's the main driver of this. Our vehicles, we continue to add vehicles because we continue to add staff. As I mentioned on that earlier slide, we had 47 employees a year ago, and now we're 49. And usually an employee comes with a need for additional vehicle and tooling, so we've gone up a little bit there, but we have our own in-house fleet technician now, and we've already seen some savings by him doing a lot of the work. We've seen savings, but we've also seen an increase because he's actually, well, that needs to be fixed. We're fixing it before it goes to auction, and realizing that front end could have went out at any point. So. Office costs, these are copiers, shredding fees, postal service stuff, so we try and manage those as close as we can. We bumped it up a little bit this year, knowing that we'll be moving into that new building and we'll have some additional expenditures there. Energy rebates, I have the $150,000 in this year because, to be honest with you, I don't know how that's gonna end out. Right now we're at 119,000, just like we were last year. But we still got a month and a half left of people submitting rebates, and we've got a lot of rebates. I think the word is finally getting around the community that Heber Light and Power will help you put a new fridge in and stuff like that, so we're spending quite a bit more money. Thermostats is one of our big drivers. We buy a lot of thermostats. Adam costs us a lot of money, there's just no way else to say it.
That's not all me.
No, like Mark Beauchamp was on here, he falls into this bucket. Our legal, our audit this year will probably be $35,000. It has an escalator built into it every year. Plus we have some engineering services that we're planning to do the study.
Two things. Can you explain why the gas generation went up so much? I know you guys talked about that in a prior meeting, but I can't really remember. The other thing, I hate insurance. It's obnoxious. I've looked into being privately insured with my business. You guys are paying $400,000 a year in insurance. Have you guys looked at doing that for the power company?
So, first question on the gas generation, okay? We are fully anticipating running our generators more next year than we have this year in an effort to be less in the power purchase market, like a significant amount more. So that's why that's gone up. There's a lot of exposure there. I don't know if you've heard of it, but we now have to basically tell the energy market every day what we're going to use the next day. And if you get it wrong, there are fees and penalties associated with it. And so one of the best ways for us to avoid the fees and penalties is to generate our own. And so that's why we're seeing a bump up there. Until we get an idea, because this is new to everybody, and there's a lot of risk there as to how the programs are going to work, the data tools are, if they're even going to operate properly for the first year or so. We're basically in an R&D process with that next year. So in order to eliminate a lot of the risk there, we'll use our local generation as much as we possibly can.
Is that going to offset the cost So
Yeah,
the maintenance and the extra expense.
That's why this one goes down $1.5 million,
Got it.
cause you see that it's jumping this one up.
And then that takes into account fluctuation in fuel prices. I know Jared told me once that it'll actually drop the Questar gas line pressure when you guys activate multiple generators at the same time. So they take a lot of fuel, I mean.
They do, we're at that was an issue 10 years ago, it's not quite as big of an issue now.
Okay.
They're not cutting us off like they used to be able to, so.
We have a JAG, a firm gas, but they won't allow us to have firm above what their pipeline needs are. And so the rest is interruptible. So, you know, they can interrupt a portion of our gas, if their pipeline needs are there. So, yeah, we're probably their biggest customer in the Heber Valley with that gas plant.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
So you have solid price structures, they're not gonna increase that, so that's not gonna jump from 4.5 million to 4.8 million or something.
No, we have gas hedged out,
Okay.
the commodity price on the gas. Now, Enbridge can raise their pipeline rates whenever the Public Service Commission allows them to. You know, and they're always in there, you know, looking for rate increases on that level. But as far as the commodity, the actual decatherms of gas, we have hedging out with that, multiple years out. So.
Perfect.
And on your second question with insurance, this year we actually did have to move to a self-insurance on vehicles up to $100,000, so.
Okay.
The premiums were just way too high, so. Every year Jason and I, so we have to renew our insurance by May 5th of every year, and we start the process in January. And we review the list every year and take off anything that is no longer makes sense to insure. So like a transformer, a substation transformer, you're probably gonna spend $1 million on the one that we got down at the gas plant that is getting quite old. Well, we can insure that, but all they're gonna give us is like value for it, so they'd go out to the market and try and price one that's 45 years old. But the insurance on it's $3,800, so it's not worth it to pay $3,800 for a $50,000 piece of equipment. So we go through the list every year and pull off anything that doesn't make any sense for us to insure. We do try and set aside money in a reserve fund so that if we did lose that transformer, we've got the money sitting there to replace it, so. So we are trying to self-insure in that regard, and like I say, this year vehicles forced us that way, and based on the communication we're receiving, wildfire risk and cybersecurity risk are two items that we may or may not be able to be insured on in the future, so we are trying to do what we can to make sure that we can keep general liability through our wildfire zones, as well as do what we can on our system to harden it so that we can keep that insurance. So,
Those changes are not, just for what it's worth, they're not Heber Power specific. Wildfire is an interesting one. The fires and the costs associated in California and those areas have just changed the insurance market for all customers. So it's something we heard back from multiple vendors that we went out to for pricing. This is either not available anymore or it's significantly higher.
We're helping to pay for their fires.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I would still say drop $500,000 in every year just into your HSA, so to speak, for the power company, so.
and we're trying to do that. We really are. So. The next one's materials. These are non-allocated materials. Like I mentioned, the unallocated salaries before. These are materials that are really, they don't have a project home per se, and so, you know, things like rubber glove testing and that usually will hit here. Building expenses. We have to use swamp coolers to cool the power plant, for example, and every year we're paying close to $6,000 to have them serviced, stuff like that, so. As well as, we have to pay for water, we don't have to pay for power, but we do have to pay for water and sewer and all that other
Is
stuff.
that going down because the new building is more economical? Is that helping there?
There's a little bit of that, we're also gonna be losing this building and the inefficiencies with it, so.
Somebody else's problem.
And we're hoping to tear down a
Heber
house here
says.
or there, so. And we do still have bad debt expense. We like to think all of our customers can pay every month on time, but some don't, and eventually there's no money there. So our total expenses for this year, we're forecasting to come in around 32 million. Next year, just under 35. If you remember the revenues, we're almost a $0 budget. You know, if we were part of a city, we'd be considered the enterprise fund, not part of the whole city. They have to balance to zero. We don't. We try and get it. We don't like these numbers. We had a bad year in 23 and 24. We don't like them, so the fact that we're positive came as a result of this board's action on rates. You take the depreciation out, you see that we're actually gonna have a pretty good year this year, coming out 4.4 million, and next year hoping to be around 6 million in operating income on them. So. We also have some non-operating items. Our debt service, we talked about debt earlier. This is the interest expense on our debt. So 1.6 million 2 years ago, 1.8 last year, 1.7 this year. With this 26 bond, I figure we're gonna be close to 3.5 million in debt next year, debt service. We will have some interest income. This 1.7 is an anomaly. It came really as a result of having that last bond sitting there waiting to be spent on the substation and the building. This is a more normal number, and that's why that next year we kind of have it down in a more normal range. So. Impact fees, you'll see in 23 we had 4.1 million, 24 we're about 4.9. This year we're down to about 4. We just put 3 million in as a line item. It's not required by state code to actually budget impact fees because they are such a hard one to estimate. You just don't know if growth is going to happen or not. We still do it to try and give our rating agencies, our individual city owner member cities, an idea as to what we're kind of expecting. We also have another item of, we call it kayak. It's either contributions or capital in aid of construction, depending who you talk to. These are the developers that are trying to have a line extension or whatever. So in 23, we had $5.4 million come in from these developers. 24, we had 9.4. So far this year, we're at 6.6. Once again, we just put a budget placeholder of 3 million in there for next year. It's probably going to be closer in the 5, 6 range. But you don't know if the developers are going to go. They've spoken. And then dividends, we haven't paid a dividend for a couple of years. If you were at the board meeting earlier, the board voted to change the language to where the dividend would be more likely to be paid out to the member owners, assuming it goes through the city council approvals. So we're budgeting 300,000 next year. And so our total non-operating, we're looking at a positive income of about 2.5, 2.6 this year, or next year, about 9.7 this year though. The reality is though, as I mentioned, we'll probably collect a little bit more in impact fee, a little bit more in kayak, so that 2.6 probably be in the 4.5 to 5 range. Just given historical trends. So if you take our operating income of the 5.9 for next year, and add the non-operating of 2.6, we're looking at budgeting about total income cash flow of about 8.5 next year. This year finishing out about 14.1. Now, unless you think we're getting rich and fat, we're not. We mentioned earlier that that capital plan is pretty expensive. This is basically whatever we're pulling in, we're throwing on capital. Any questions on any of that so far?
What's the philosophy behind the dividends?
Originally it was written that 300,000 a year would go to the member cities. So Heber City owns 75% of Heber Light and Power. Charleston and Midway own the other 25%, equally split 12.5. And so we were paying it on a quarterly basis. At the end of the quarter, I do an analysis to verify whether or not we had operating income. If there's income, then we pay the $75,000 upon board resolution and action. That number, I don't know how it ever got set. It's just been that number since I came here 12 years ago. Since I've been here, we've only paid it half the time.
Do you know what the cities use it for?
It goes into their general fund, doesn't it?
Goes into the general fund.
So it's kind of a thin around tax.
There are a few ways to look at it, and no one of them is absolutely correct. On one hand, it compensates the member cities for their ownership of the company. That argument, to me, feels a little thin, considering that ownership happened a long, long time ago. I think the better argument is that a distribution to the members owning the entity looks a lot like the property taxes that would be paid if the cities were served by a for-profit utility, Rocky Mountain Power, for example, where all these assets would be taxable for property tax purposes, because all of our assets are publicly owned. We don't pay any property tax. So that is certainly not an absolute justification or a complete explanation, but
But
that's
it makes up a bit for the tax you lose because you're
Yep,
a city-owned entity rather than a
correct.
public entity.
And
A
at
few
least
years
recently, we have voted as a board not to issue dividends
Yeah,
because
the
of the
last
financial
2 or 3
situation of the
years.
company.
Yeah.
Along that line, I know that you don't budget for this, but the utility collects it's franchised, but I think that's a municipal use tax.
That's a pure pass-through.
Yeah, it's just a pass-through, but the cities do collect 6%, so I get the argument that you're saying, and the property tax issue you talked about, but the cities do collect just over 6% on a municipal use tax for the utility being here, which is a little different than, a lot of private utilities would charge 3% for a franchise fee.
The city still collects municipal energy tax if it's served by Rocky Mountain Power.
Yeah, and a franchise tax. Yeah. So anyway, it's just a point being, yeah, I understand the argument that is there on the 300,000, but there is the additional municipal use tax, which, from my perspective, would be nice if it was actually listed as municipal use tax on the bill as opposed to franchise fee.
We did have Mark Beauchamp, who did the impact fee study, we did have him evaluate, was it 6 years ago? About 6 years ago, this dividend amount. If you factor in the amount plus what we forgive in streetlight expenses, it's a standard number from across the nation as to what the member owners are getting. If we were a part of, say, Heber City and was that enterprise fund, that's about what they would, on average, siphon off.
I don't want to get you sidetracked on this,
It sounds like it's a huge number,
but the thing that, you brought up several issues that, with EDAM, the uncertainty of EDAM is huge. You don't know how that's gonna impact fees, what it's gonna look like. I mean, it's significant. And, you know, we've got another 3.something% rate increase that's gonna go in 26. It just seems to me that the 300,000 on the city, even though it's a small portion, is like, why are we pulling that out? Going to the municipals when we've got all this uncertainty that's going on, and we're increasing rates, and so we're hitting the public pretty severely. It's like, I get it's an overall scheme, it's 300,000.
I think it's also important to note that it's 300,000 that we're budgeting, but you can see what we've paid over the last few years.
The cities, the board has voted the last 3 years not to pay dividends. Because we knew what was happening, and we, you know, I mean, yeah, it helps the towns and cities budget immensely. But it's not, when we're in this seat, on this board, we are for Heber Light and Power.
Yeah.
So when we look at that, we look at it as a way of not taking away from Heber Light and Power and letting them use it the way that they need to use it. That's why we have voted it down the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think that's great. You know,
And it'll probably, I won't be on the board next year, but it will probably, I am saying that most of the mayors will agree that if it will do Heber Light and Power more good than it would in our own towns or cities, then yeah. And we vote on that every quarter. So if we see one quarter that we think's really good, then we say, okay, pay it out. If not, then we just.
With all the complexity going on in this industry right now, it just seems that you need to let the utility and you're doing it based on what you said. You need to let the utility operate purely nonprofit, and if there's cash reserves that you can add to that, that needs to go to the, you know, because there is so much uncertainty.
Oh, yeah.
Stay in the company.
Yeah, there's just so much uncertainty right now.
It is embedded in our organization agreement from way back, and so we always budget for it.
It's there, but that doesn't mean we'll use it.
Okay, gotcha.
It's an option, not an obligation.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks, that helps.
Any other comments before I go into capital? Is this the end of the old night portion? Okay. I hate CapEx. We spend more time talking this one than anything else.
Anything, don't we?
There's so much going on. I have it broke down by the different disciplines. So we have our hydro plants. Usually on our hydro, we don't spend a lot of money. We'll have to update relays and things like that, and that's what that 25,000 for next year is. Our gas plant, we definitely have some engines that we'll probably be looking at purchasing next year, a few things like that. So that's what that is. This year we have a unit coming online that coming out of the R&D program that we're adding in. Distribution lines out there on the system, so we're looking at finishing this year just under 7 million. Next year will be about the same. One thing to note, most of that 7 million though is customer aid to construction. So substation wise, 24 we had that $22 million Southfield substation go in. These years look normal and we're updating relays, things like that. Metering, these are the metering assets go on the system. This is our new office building and a few other changes that are happening. It's almost done. We've seen the expenditure, but it's budgeted this way because that's when it hits that capital account. So right now it's sitting in construction work in progress and has been spent over the last 3 years, but it will actually show up on our capital assets next year. Vehicle wise, we had an expensive year this year. We had 4 big trucks come in. 2 of them are supposed to come next year. We mentioned that you're 2.5, 3 years for a substation transformer. A big bucket truck is 2 years out. Somehow they bumped us up in production slot by 6 months, so I had to take delivery last month on 2. So that number should have been about half that and then in next year. This is one small bucket and a couple of small, like F-150 type trucks. Tool wise, I mentioned we'd hired a fleet mechanic, so some of this is lift some stuff for him. And IT, Colby's really cost us a lot of money these days. Now, we're looking at going with an OMS system, so an outage management system where our customers can be a little bit more real-time notified of outages and what's going on. And so that's what the majority of that money is for next year. That's what a big chunk of this year's was some of that. So we're looking at a total capital budget this year ending at about 12.6 million, next year coming in just under 37.
Mainly because of the new building coming on.
Yeah. And like I say, most of that's been spent. There's money that was in the 2023 bond. So. With that, any other questions?
Brandon, we do have 1 attendee from the public, it looks like. I can allow them to talk if you'd like.
Hello,
Need to say who they are.
JS is what it shows.
JS, are you there? JS, are you online?
Like me, they fell asleep.
With none of that, we'll move on.
Okay. No questions, any comments? As my ag teachers say, smart remarks.
Back to the budgeting, I know that with cities, there's limitations of how much cash they can keep on hand, it needs to be allocated in capital funds or whatever. Are there similar restrictions for Heber Power and Light, or can you guys keep as much capital on hand as you want?
We can keep as much as we so desire or need.
Okay.
The only restriction really is on our impact fee funds, we have to spend them within a certain period.
So don't you guys have like a certain amount of time of operating cash you wanna keep on hand all the time? Like
Yeah.
120 days or something like that, isn't that your policy?
We prefer 120 days.
And how much do you guys currently have?
That's the problem right now. We're at 57 days right now
Okay.
because we took that $3 million out of our cash reserves to pay for that substation.
Okay.
So, once
But
that,
that'll be back in as soon as that bond
once that
comes
goes
in.
back in February, assuming we're able to sell all of our bonds, we'll be back up to that. We were at 156 days, so we're hoping that.
Got it. I just kinda feel like as somebody who pays an $18 power bill, that like I would love to see you guys have a healthier cash reserve and have 6 months worth of revenue and store if you can. You know, obviously it's gotta be within reason, but like that's the only thing that kinda made me nervous looking through those budget numbers, is that it is really close to being zeroed out. And, you know, being from Charleston and knowing how much some dividends would you know, benefit the town over there too, it'd be great to see you guys have a good cash reserve and have dividends. So, you know, we gotta lobby the legislature to increase those impact fees or something, cause I definitely don't wanna see rates go up. But I would like to see you guys have a higher cash reserve.
And seeing, that's a fine line, cause we've had other customers come in and like, what do you mean? You're sitting on $5.5 million worth of cash, why are you raising my rates? And so we do try and keep that up, and there is a cash reserve analysis that I do every quarter. I look at it and see, and it's based on 5 main factors. So one is our debt. We make sure that we have 80% of our debt payment for the year set aside. We try and make sure that all of our operating income or operating expenses, we can cover them. And then 20% of that capital plan But that number is really, it's just under $15 million, that capital reserve number.
Okay,
We-
so you do have that then, that capital reserve?
We don't have that amount, because if I was to set aside $15 million and then increase rates 3.5%, I hear from a lot of people,
Yeah.
they're like, why are you raising my rates? You got all this money set aside.
Yeah.
But the biggest issue and why we don't set the 15 million aside is a lot of that calculation is if we had that 100-year storm and half our lines got blown over and we had all sorts of issues. We need to be able to still pay our bills, and if we have all that cash, then we can do that. But the reality is we gotta be able to make it about 2 months. Our credit rating is such that we could go get a line of credit to pay our bills. And so that's kind of the game we play, rather than be sitting on a bunch of money and then having to raise rates. We just run the risk gauntlet of.
Okay.
It's a fine line and a balance, see. This board has to just kind of govern, but it is,
No,
It's a fine line.
I'm totally with you guys, and like I said, I preface my comment with the fact that I have like virtually no power bill. And with my battery bank, I can go unhook my power and never hook it back up, and that's a great feeling. But I just feel like on a business level, like, when you guys tell me you have 5 million in cash, like I think about my business and, you know, if once my operating gets down below a certain number, which for most people is astronomical, I feel so broke. And so I feel like for an organization the size of Heber Power, 5 million is broke.
Really?
So I don't know, that's just my comment, my suggestion for you.
We could chew up 5 million in a hurry on a bad, in February of 2012, when Texas froze. That was a bad window.
I'm with it. I've got payroll tomorrow, and I can only imagine how big your payroll is.
So.
You're right too to say, there's a necessity to lobby for increases in impact funds. If we were gonna lobby for anything, the state could also change the impact funds to allow schools to be built within their funds. That'd be the biggest thing that would help people around here. That's just not on the table right now.
Statewide.
Nobody's interested in
I
it.
didn't see a lobbyist budgeted in there anywhere. They're in the miscellaneous category.
Jason's really good at writing letters.
He's our lobbyist.
we do have lobbyists through the joint action agencies,
UAMs.
that argue for public power. We're also a member of the American Public Power Association, which does a good job lobbying for public power as a whole. And then we have through UAMPS, there's a designated lobbyist to, argue at the state level and at the national level for Utah public power.
And then the WPPA does it.
Yeah, and WPPA as well, so.
Well, the general session's coming up. Now's the time to get another docket. Let's call Mike Kohler.
I'd also throw in on the reserves, all you need is a pipeline outage on the gas, and based on increased use, Emily can go through quite a bit of money pretty quick on the open market.
I think, I think everybody knows this, and it's unfortunate, and I'm saying this as a developer, that the state legislature is heavily favored for developers, and they're, so, believe me, I'd love to see the impact fees doubled, but I think with the current legislature, you're just not gonna see that, unfortunately.
Or pay for schools.
Or paying for schools,
Pay
or,
for schools
yeah,
would be
yeah,
huge.
impact fees.
Okay, is there any other questions on this? Anyone? Okay, Bart, thank you, that was wonderful. And we will go out of the public hearing for the capital and operating budget and fee schedule. Okay, now we will move on to the approval of resolution 2025-08, approving the preliminary official statement for the sale of the electric revenue bond series 2026. board have any questions? Sid, do you have any questions?
You not on?
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
He's right
Yeah, I
there.
am. Come on. I was on my edge of the seat when Bart was going through all that.
I know. Okay,
No, I don't. No, I don't.
all right, then I will accept a motion.
Chair, I'll move that we approve the resolution 2025-08, approving the preliminary official statement for the sale of electric revenue bonds series 2026.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a first by Aaron, a second by,
Kendall.
Kendall. We'll have a roll call vote. We'll start with you, Sid.
Yes.
Kevin?
Aye.
Kendall?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so that's 5. That motion carries. Okay, our next item is the approval of a change in the impact fee enactment.
This is 2025-07, correct? I think that's what it shows on the.
Probably.
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the impact fee enactment 2025-07.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Kendall, seconded by Kevin, to accept the approval of the impact fee enhancement. We'll start with you, Sid.
Yes.
Kevin,
Aye.
Yes.
Kendall,
Yes.
Aaron, and yes, so that's 5. That motion carries.
On that motion, do we need to say impact fee draft resolution, or is it understandable enough?
That's good enough.
Okay.
And just so you know on that, we now have a, basically, 120 days, 90-day sitting period before they'll be enacted, so it'll be February 15th or something
Yeah.
like that.
Okay, that's why I asked Adam to get that out to me as soon as you can. Okay, now we'll move on to approval of the 2026 capital and operating budget and fee schedule. Any questions, board? Okay, then I'll accept a motion.
Chair, I'll move that we approve the 2026 capital and operating budget and fee schedule as outlined in the included materials.
Okay, do I have a second?
Is there a resolution number on that or not?
No.
No. Okay,
Fits the budget.
okay.
I'll second.
Okay, having a motion by Aaron and seconded by Kendall. Any questions from the board? Okay, we'll start with you, Aaron.
Yes.
Kendall?
Yes.
Kevin?
Aye.
Sid?
Yes.
And yes, so that's 5. The motion carries. Okay. That's the end, you guys, so I will,
Anything else?
we're not gonna have a meeting in what?
I just wanna thank any member of the public that came.
Yes.
I really appreciate your input. If you
Good
ever have any
questions.
questions about any of the finances of Heber Light, I have an open door policy. Just come, I'll gladly visit with you. If I'm not here, everybody, I've been instructed to keep my cell phone and call me, so.
Now, it's my understanding that we're not gonna have a meeting in December, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so this will be my last time here. I want to tell everybody thank you. I've enjoyed it tremendously. The friendships, the meetings, they've been great. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Don't be a stranger. Don't be a stranger.
Appreciate your service.
Okay, then I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second that.
Kendall made the motion, Aaron seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.